In Units 2 and 3, we are reading articles from a line of research by Tom Sweeney and Jane Meyer. And then in Unit 4, we are reading an article on strategies for encouraging wellness behaviors using the personality priorities framework of individual psychology. What I want to do in this talk is first, discuss the history of the modern wellness movement. Second, describe the progression of Sweeney and Meyer's research. And third, expand on the definition of the personality priorities that are provided in the reading for Unit 4. Wellness as a concept has roots in several cultures and various healing traditions. As early as 3,000 years BC, there is evidence of an oral tradition amongst the sages of India, Ayurveda, which was eventually recorded in 4 sacred Hindu texts. In this tradition, nutrition, exercise, yoga, meditation, and social interaction are used to create and maintain a balance that creates harmony and avoids illness. Around this same time, about 3,000 years BC, practitioners in China were developing a practice based on the flow and balance of the body's vital energy, what they called qi, using herbal medicines, acupuncture, massage, exercise, and dietary practices. Around 500 BC, Hippocrates was a Greek physician and possibly the first Western physician to focus on preventing sickness rather than simply treating disease. Eudaimonia is a Greek word defined in Plato's Dictionary of Definitions as, quote, the good composed of all goods, an ability which suffices for living well, perfection in respect of virtue, resources sufficient for a living creature, end quote. It is a central concept in Aristotle's ethics and political philosophy, where it was used as the term for the highest human good. In the 18th and 19th centuries, a number of spiritual philosophies and medical practices appeared. For example, beginning in the 1790s, a German physician, Christian Hahnemann, developed homeopathy, a system that uses natural substances to promote the body's self-healing response. In the 1870s, Mary Baker Eddy founded a spiritual healing-based Christian Science. Andrew Taylor Still develops osteopathy, a holistic approach grounded in manipulating muscles and joints. In the 1890s, Daniel David Palmer develops chiropractic, focusing on the body's structure and functioning. These earlier wellness traditions continue to flourish, sometimes connecting and often independent of one another. Prevention magazine was first published in the 1950s. The idea of wellness became increasingly popular with the general public. In the last half of the 20th century, a new paradigm in medicine emerged in which body, mind, and spirit are seen as integral to understanding both health and wellness. In 1958, the World Health Organization published their constitution. It defines health as physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease. Bill Hetler organized the National Wellness Institute and the first National Wellness Conference. He proposed this definition, quote, wellness is an active process through which people become aware of and make choices toward a more successful existence, end quote. He proposed these 6 dimensions of wellness: emotional, occupational, physical, social, intellectual, and spiritual. Addressing all 6 dimensions of wellness in our lives is purported to build a holistic sense of wellness and fulfillment. Current thinking proposes a continuum that ranges from illness at one end, through health in the middle, to wellness at the other end. In the 1980s, Jane Myers and Tom Sweeney began developing the first model of wellness based in mental health, a move away from the existing models of wellness that were primarily based in the physical health services. This diagram of the mental health wellness model, which is from Sweeney and Whitmer, 1991, is based on a review of studies which sought to identify correlates of health, quality of life, and longevity. Individual psychology was an organizing principle for this model, which is described in the article we read in Unit 2. Tom, Jane, and their colleagues developed a corresponding assessment instrument, the Wellness Evaluation of Lifestyle. It has 131 items and has been widely used by counselors for a number of years. By 2004, these researchers had a database of 5,380 completed inventories. Their next step was to analyze these completed inventories using factor analysis to identify how items group together in these completed inventories. In factor analysis, a correlation coefficient is calculated for all combinations of the 131 items, and items that are correlated are considered to be a factor. Their factor analysis identified a single higher order factor that they labeled wellness, and then 5 second order factors that they labeled physical, creative, coping, social, and essential. Each of these second order factors had a number of third order factors, as you can see in the diagram. This is the topic of the article we read in Unit 3, Myers and Sweeney, 2005. Reflecting on this strong empirical picture, Tom, Jane, and their colleagues return to individual psychology and use the individual psychology construct of holism to explain the new model in which the self is at the core of wellness with 5 interconnected and interrelated factors and 17 components. Unlike the Wheel of Wellness, this indivisible self model is empirical. We read about this model in Unit 3. I encourage you to pay particular attention to the 17 third-order factors. There is a document in the course handouts with the definitions of all these components of the indivisible self model. I think they provide an excellent framework for assessing mental health wellness, and you can use them in a self-assessment of your own wellness. The components of the indivisible self model can also be measured using the 5-factor wellness inventory, an update of the Wellness Evaluation of Lifestyle inventory. In the new inventory, there is an adult version that has 91 items, an adolescent version that has 97 items, and a version for elementary-aged children that has 94 items. Our reading for Unit 4 moves beyond the Wheel of Wellness and the indivisible self models of mental health wellness. In their 1992 article, Britzman and Henkin define strategies for encouraging wellness practices using the personality priorities framework of individual psychology. They assume that an understanding of a person's style of relating to others and achieving a sense of belonging and significance is important to consider in the encouraging of wellness practices. Their article includes a brief description of each of the 5 personality priorities, and I want to supplement that description by sharing with you the first 5 items for each personality priority from the Langenfeld Inventory of Personality Priorities. By the way, there is a copy of this inventory in the course handouts if you are interested in completing it. Factor 1, pleasing. 1. I try very hard to make others happy. 2. I bend over backward to keep from offending others. 3. I have a hard time saying no when someone asks me for a favor. 4. Others sometimes take advantage of my willingness to please. 5. I tend to hold in negative feelings rather than express them. Factor 2, achieving. I would like to accomplish more than I do, but usually end up taking it easy. That one is scored negatively. This one is scored negatively also. Fact number 2, because I am not a high achiever, some people consider me to be very lazy. 3. I set very high standards for myself. 4. Some people consider me to be a workaholic. And 5. Once I make up my mind to do something, I get it done. Factor 3, outdoing. Item 1. I enjoy trying to outdo my friends, such as having the last word in a friendly argument. 2. I would prefer being in charge of others, such as a supervisor, than to have someone else in charge of me. 3. It is important that I be the best, or at least one of the best, at what I do. 4. I usually notice whether or not my coworkers are accomplishing as much as I. Item 5. I enjoy competition. Factor 4, detaching. Item 1. I seldom display my feelings or emotions. Item 2, which is scored backwards. I like being included in group activities, especially when I have the opportunity to socialize and make friends. Item 3. I feel uncomfortable around people who are very emotional. Item 4. Very few people know me well. And item 5, also scored negatively. People feel very at ease with me. I encourage you to carefully consider the 7 strategies for encouraging wellness and consider using them as you work on your plans for becoming more encouraging.